when Carol and I travel, and she sometimes sings the song "Everything Must Change," she introduces it, and she gives her introduction, and she loves this song. She goes, "This is like a hymn. It's, it should be the human anthem." And it's like, oh man, everything must change as an anthem? I'm thinking if I want an anthem, like everything's coming up roses is my anthem, or oh, what a beautiful morning, but not everything must change. Oh man, I know it's true, but why dwell on it? This is why we end up in rooms like this in the first place, because everything must change. And we spend an extraordinary amount of our time trying to stop everything from changing. Don't we? That's most of our work in the day, frankly. We think, if I just know my destiny. The work that we spend the majority of our time on doing every day is trying to control things so they don't change. So we can make it just the way we like it. And then it will stop. Things will stop changing. We can sit on that beautiful plateau and drink a margarita and watch as many reruns of anything as we want, and only deal with what we want to deal with, only do what we want to do. And whenever something comes to our door and we open it, it's always something fabulous and good. It's never a surprise. We like surprises, but only certain kinds of surprise. We don't like unexpected surprises. Now, here's a crazy thing, and I say it often enough. The Course in Miracles says we only have one problem, which should be extremely helpful to us in the world of how many problems we have, because, of course, everything must change, and it always does. And if everything's changing, well, we have a number of problems. And the Course in Miracles says it might look like you have a number of problems. It might look like you have tons of problems, but actually it says you only have one problem. You only have one problem. And the good news is, if we only have one problem, wouldn't we want to immediately know what that problem is? Because if we can fix just one problem, then all our other problems go away, because we only really have one problem. And what's so interesting is when we face our day, we still act like we have all of these problems, a full spectrum of problems. And I know, because I've been doing the work I do for 22 years, and when people come into the office, oftentimes they come in and I say, "What do you want to walk out of here with?" And the answer more often than not is, "Well, I got a number of things that need addressing. I can't just hone it down into one thing, And I say, "Well, if you tell me the one thing, you'll walk out of here in an hour with that one thing." "Yeah, but oh man." So I'm thinking of a woman that I had in my office who said that very thing. She says, "Well, first, my marriage. I got to talk about my marriage, because my marriage is it's not good. And we have a home, and we have family, we have kids. But then I can't walk out of here unless I talk about the fact that I'm using food in a crazy way. I'm eating to fill up something inside me, and I can't stop eating." And clearly the weight on her body was indicative of that, but it was even more so her shame about the way in which she was eating. So I got to talk about eating. But if you're going to talk about eating, she said, "I got to talk about my drinking." Because my drinking has just gotten out of hand. And I don't talk about it. I can't say I'm actually an alcoholic, but I can say that I know my drinking is a problem, because the moment I get home, I'm already looking at the clock for the official cocktail hour. So I know, that number is a big number for me. And she said, "But none of this even is half as important as how I'm treating my son, because I'm not treating him well. And that should be the first thing that I talk about." So I don't know, because I've got all these problems. And all these problems come from a problem with my husband. And I got a problem at work with the person I work with, which makes me eat more and drink more. And my husband makes me eat more and drink more. And the way I feel about the way I'm treating my child makes me eat more and drink more. And I'm spinning. And the Course in Miracles says we only have one problem. And man, if we could get that into our DNA, Napoleon Hill of Think and Grow Rich, you might have heard his name. He says when you want to learn something, you need to know it so badly because it's the opposite of everything you believe. But it's so true that when you learn it, you know if you learn this thing, it's going to change everything. It's going to change the foundation upon which you stand. He says, here's what you need to do. You need to overcompensate. That's his word. Overcompensate. What overcompensate means is you got to dive in head first into what it is you need to learn. Because if that thing you need to learn is going to change everything, learn that thing. Turn off the television, turn off the radio, step away from the things you ordinarily do and use that block of time to learn that thing. Everything is one thing. You have one problem. And then the Course goes on to tell you what that problem is. But let me read you something first from Michael Singer because it's just beautiful. And it's beautiful because I love this guy because he didn't do any interviews in his whole life until Oprah called. And he decided to do one interview. And if you're going to do one interview, don't do it if August Gold calls, right? It won't be worthy to wait your whole life for that one interview, but do it because Oprah calls and you will sell 100,000 books in 7 days, which is what he did. And we didn't even know who Michael Singer was, many of us, until he ended up on the Soul series. And this is what he said, and this is why I love him, because it sounds so simple, but the truth is always so simple. He says this: no solution can possibly exist while you're lost in the energy of a problem. Right? No solution can possibly exist. So when a problem is disturbing you, don't ask, what should I do about it? Ask, what part of me is being disturbed by this? And once you clearly see the disturbed part, then ask, who is it that sees this disturbed part of me? The very fact that you can see the disturbance means that you're not in it. The only real solution is to take the seat of witnessing so you completely change your frame of reference, and you're not in the problem, you're looking at the problem, the part of you that's disturbed by all the problems you have. He goes on. This involves a change from the outer solution consciousness to the inner solution consciousness. You have to break the habit of thinking that the solution to your problems is to rearrange things on the outside. This is the essential difference between a spiritually minded person and a worldly person. Worldly simply means that you think that if you can change the things outside of you, you'll be okay. But when you get clear enough, you'll realize that the real problem is that there is something inside of you that can have a problem with almost anything. And the first step is to deal with that part of you. Right? The Course in Miracles says we have one problem. So when I met this woman who had many problems, and we all have many problems that feel entirely and completely and utterly legitimate. I'm not trying to be flip about our problems. They feel very, very real. Every last one of them seems to need a different solution. Michael Singer says what Buddha said. He's a Buddhist. Of course, he's saying what Buddha said, and it's such a simple response. Don't look at all the problems you have. Look at the part of you that is disturbed. Look at the part of you that has the problems. Look at the part of you that seems to have a problem all the time with everything, that can make a problem out of anything. So we do what we do in times like this. If you know that spiritually minded people look on the inside, worldly people look on the outside, so we need the solutions to come from outside of us. Spiritual people look on the inside, and the only difference is they take a breath into their body, they go down a bit deeper than they ordinarily go following that breath, and they bump into the truth, the indwelling truth, the indwelling intuitive voice that some call the still small voice, the voice of spirit, the voice of the divine guidance within you, whatever you call it, doesn't make a difference, the wisdom of you in you. Of course it's in you. Where else would it be? Where else would it be? And she goes down to that place within her in order to find the part of her that seems to have a problem, can have a problem with anything. Look at how much time we save instead of going out to try and fix all of our problems, because she had like 5 different brush fires in her life. How do you begin to have the time to put out every single one of them? Buddha said, turn within to the common denominator of all these problems. And what is the common denominator? We are the common denominator. When I had issues in all my relationships, and it was one woman after another that seemed to be just wrong. This one's crazy. This one's drunk. This one's a cocaine head. I mean, I just went, and this one's mean, and this one's and this one. And finally, I made it into Al-Anon. Thank God. Right? The lesbian gene pool was probably thrilled, like, go to Al-Anon, get that girl to Al-Anon, she's a mess. I walk in and I say, what is wrong with all the lesbians in New York City? I cannot believe I have to choose from amongst this gene pool to find myself a wife. It'll never happen. Right? And they're looking at me the way people in the 12-step program always look at you. And they got that, oh, poor dear look on their face, right? And you're thinking they're identifying with you, right? And they're looking at you, shaking their heads, saying, poor dear, they're feeling sorry for you. Because the thing that every one of those women had in common was I chose them. I handpicked every last one of them. I was what was in common. I had the disturbance inside of me. And I continued to choose disturbing situations because of something within me. We go to the law of attraction. We don't just teach the law of attraction so we can say, oh, let's use the law of attraction. Let's put down a number and make some money by next Monday and talk about it in a week. I mean, that's what people love the law for. And nothing is wrong with that. Truly nothing. But man, the law of attraction is ingenious when you take that into your body. When you overcompensate and immerse yourself in the teachings of the law of attraction, it will help you in these moments in your life, because here's what it says. What is in our life is an exact match to the vibration that is within ourselves. It's a precise match to the vibration inside of ourself. And I got to tell you, this is a hard truth. I get it. This is not where anybody's going to get up applauding right now. I know that. And I'm not going to be popular in this moment. You know, this is not a popular moment when we hear that the disturbance on the outside, like a golden thread, is attached to the disturbance, the part of us that is disturbed on the inside. And where does she take herself? She takes a couple of breaths down, as we can, every one of us in this room. If you went home tonight and took a couple of breaths deeper, conscious breaths deeper than you ordinarily go, you would land in a place where you could see things more clearly. You'd access your deeper eyes. You close these human eyes and you can access the deeper eyes. And what she sees, she saw a moment in time. She saw a moment in time that came to her in a different way. She was a little girl. And it was the day her parents sat her down and said, we're divorcing. And in that moment, I asked her to ask herself a question. What did you decide in this moment when you found out at 5 years old that your parents, your two parents who you love, who we love, whether our parents are great parents or not great parents, they're our parents, they're gods to us. Mom and dad are our models for what God is. They're what stand between us and not even existing. And she said, this is what I decided. From now on, I must control everything. She made that decision at 5. See, we think our fear starts, when we move to New York. We don't have enough deadbolts. I had like 3 when I first moved here. I moved from Boston where you had 1 if you even used it, and you had 3. And people would say, is that enough? Right? I dated a girl who had the bar, the thing that went from the deadbolt that went into a hole chiseled in your floor. So if somebody tried to jimmy there, it was you. Right, it was you. I remember that. But I understand that. If you look like her, somebody's going to want to bang down the door. I so get that. But there was a hole in the ground and there was a metal stud holding it. So if somebody banged their way in, they couldn't get in. That was New York. We think our fear starts there. No, it doesn't. It starts long before you can even talk. It starts so long ago, you don't even have language for it. It's so old. That's why surprises that are unexpected are frightening, and we don't want them, and we don't like them because we can't control them. And at 5, she figured out, we figure out at 5 years old, from now on, I have to control everything. Everything was the decision that was made. And she followed it with this statement, or else I'll lose everything, right? She figured that out at 5, or else I will lose everything. So from now on, I'm on my guard. I'm on my guard. Now, I will bet you so much money that somewhere inside of everybody's childhood on earth, keep in mind it would be a pretty good bet because I've been doing what I do for 22 years. At the level of the soul, everybody has a story that looks a little bit like this. When something surprising happens in childhood and we get bumped, we get surprised, something happens, something unexpected, we make a decision, and from that decision is, whoa, I don't feel safe. And in that moment of not feeling safe, we figure out how to get to safe. You see, we think we're 3 years old. Psychologists have told us, well, you're 3 years old. You don't remember anything before 9. That is so not true. We remember everything. It's inside. They just don't have us go deeply enough to access it. Our main thing when something like that happens is, how do I get to safe? How do I get to safe? Just because we're human nature does not mean we do not take part in being in nature, of nature. And all nature is concerned with its survival. So are we. That's how we get through childhood. We figure out the road to get safely through our childhood. So if there's a divorce, you know what? I'm going to figure out how to never be in this position again. I'm going to simply, from now on, control everything. And here is the word she uses. From now on, I'm going to be on guard. And you know what? At 5, that actually was a wise decision. It made a lot of sense. The problem is, at 45, that decision that at once was a good decision has become a liability, except nobody tells us that that decision has expired, right? The way we know a decision has expired, a decision that we've been loyal to, a decision we made at a young age, is we end up somewhere in the middle of our life, in our 20s or in the middle of our 40s or in the middle of our 60s, and like, what's up with this? There are problems everywhere I turn. The Course in Miracles says, no, you only have one problem. And if we can overcompensate, which means dive into what it means that we only have one problem, we can go after that one problem. We can do our healing there. Or we could spend the rest of our life trying to put out every single one of these fires, which takes time and energy and money, and work on the external world, work in the outer world, like all worldly people, nothing wrong with that, who think that their problems need to be rearranged. Something needs to be rearranged on the outside so things can come back to safe. Right here in that moment in time when we make a decision that we are not safe, whatever that looks like for anybody, all of us put our guard up and we create a system based on what happened to us to keep us safe. What comes up in that process is something that has been called the loyal soldier. And it's a great name. And everybody looks at the loyal soldier a little bit differently. So do I. Because the first time I heard the words loyal soldier, man, like red flags went up in my mind and I understood it through osmosis. I didn't need to read what a loyal soldier was about. I knew there was one living inside of me. Because the loyal soldier is the part of our nature, which is what the Course in Miracles is all about. We're not teaching the Course in Miracles, but the Course in Miracles has a point of view that is so strong and so true. And they say this line, which absolutely makes no sense at all. In your defenselessness lies your safety. I'll say it again. In your defenselessness lies your safety. In your vulnerability lies your safety. In your openness lies your safety. In your loving everyone lies your safety. In your welcoming all surprises lies your safety. In your defenselessness lies your safety. Meaning, the way in which we figured out how to get through our childhood protecting ourselves is the very thing now that is standing in our way of letting life in. The very mechanism, the very system, the very thing we built up to keep us safe is the very thing inside of us that has a problem with everything. And here's what it looks like. It looks like we spend the majority of our time protecting ourselves, not consciously protecting ourselves, defending ourselves, watching, being on guard. We walk around as if, well defended, as if something bad's going to happen. As if a shoe is going to drop. See, we think this fear is about, I'm afraid, I might not be able to pay my rent this month, or, I think I'm afraid, this is a bad neighborhood. We are afraid, period. We are afraid at the base of our being. We have been growing up with fear as a way of life, as a constant companion. This isn't new fear, and this isn't fear about a couple of things. I hope they publish my book. I hope I don't go prematurely gray, right? This is the kind of fear of we're not safe. And here's what happens in the moment we make a decision like that. And everybody has made such decisions because that is not because she's in a bad family. That is because nobody gives us an instruction manual to how to get through childhood. So if my parents don't like my bigness, you know what? I'll cut it off. I'll take my bigness and put it into hiding and shut the door. Man, my bigness is gone as of right now. If you were too creative, If you were too wild, if you were too smart, if you were too small, if you were too anything in your family, you simply took that part and you just got rid of it. Because you knew what it was that was needed in your family. Every child does. My nephew, and I'm going back a couple of years, he knows what his parents like and don't like. He loves dressing up as the bride when he's role-playing with his sister, who he makes be the groom because he wants to be the bride. But he'll always tell you, don't tell Dad. He'll walk into his grandmother's kitchen and slip on her old lady shoes because they have little heels on them, right? Believe me, they're not beautiful shoes, beautiful girl shoes like Manolos. They're grandma shoes, right? Grandma shoes from like Tom McCann, you know? But man, they have a heel on them, and he slips his feet into them, and he'll look around and he'll say, don't tell Dad. But he's having his moment, but it's in hiding. We figured this out. He was 5. He was 6. We're sitting and we're having dinner at one of those family restaurants, and he takes the scarf because it was a cold, windy day, and he puts it around him like a babushka, right? And man, the shit that came down on him at lunch for looking like a girl for even a minute as a joke was heavy. He's figured it out. He knows. Pretty soon, he won't be sliding into anybody's pumps. Pretty soon, that whole part of his nature, it'll be gone. It'll be completely gone. We figure out how to cut off the portions of ourselves that are unwanted, unloved, unliked, unappreciated, uncelebrated. The part that won't keep us safe, because safe is we want our parents to love us as much as possible. That feels safe. So we will do whatever it takes. This isn't good family, bad family. This is just the psychological path, the spiritual path we all walk. It's all part one of our life. Everybody walks through this door, and it's not bad or good. It just is. It's a story. It's a story. If we don't know we're in a story, and we don't know that inside of every story we're the star of it, and whatever is happening on the outside is coming as a reflection, the law of attraction says so elegantly, as something on the inside, we begin to do battle with everything on the outside. We begin to defend ourselves from what comes from the outside. We begin to protect ourselves from what comes from the inside. Let me read you something from the Tao Te Ching. It's beautiful. It says, this world is nothing but the glory of the Tao. Verse 32. This world is nothing but the glory of life, let's say. The glory of the Tao, the glory of life. Expressed through different names and forms. Now, one who sees the things of this world as being real and self-existent has lost sight of the truth. If we think that what's happening on the outside of us has nothing to do with us, and we try and fix it by rearranging things on the outside, to him every word becomes a trap. Everything becomes a prison. Everything becomes a trap. Every word becomes a trap. Everything becomes a prison. We have a loyal soldier that we put on guard at that time. That loyal soldier is there to protect our interests, to protect our image. Because one day, this little boy is going to put all that into hiding, and that loyal soldier is there to protect it. He doesn't like all that kind of stuff. If you're too big, the loyal soldier is going to keep you small. If love was dangerous in your family, in some way the loyal soldier is going to keep away love in your life. No matter how much you say you want a man or you want a woman, there's going to be a soldier inside of you that heard your original call for help, and it is like a soldier. It's just like that. Why? Because a soldier, look up the mission of the U.S. Army and you will find the words to protect and defend. That's exactly what a soldier does, a professional soldier does. Our soldier's on the inside. And our soldier does this fabulous job of protecting and defending us against the part of our nature that's not wanted in our family, that's not welcome in our family. And here she was, I got to control everything as if, number one, you can, but at 5, it makes perfect sense. I got to control everything. I got to be on my guard. She grows up, and now she's 45. And we would say, oh my God, poor dear, what a control freak. We would say, and we laugh. But she's not a control freak any more than we're control freaks, even though all of us, for the most part, are living our lives actually believing in a deep way that we can control, that we need to protect, that we need to defend, that we need to watch. In our defenselessness lies our safety. But at 5 years old, that's not true. At 5 years old, it feels like in our defense of ourself lies our safety, because now she became so guarded as a little kid, one of those little kids. And she goes, this explains my childhood. She becomes a woman, starting out as a girl. Now she can't be vulnerable anymore. Now she's guarded. She can't be open. She can't play. I mean, you can't play. You can't be on guard and play. Play went right out the window in her life. She became a mini adult. Many of us do. She got serious. She got hard. She got scared. She got small. And it's like her true self was gone, and here was her, living her life behind the loyal soldier. And it's a brilliant idea in childhood. Think about it. It's just so brilliant, it's ridiculous. Think about how smart it is for us to set up something to protect us and defend us, so that we can have the love we need to safely navigate our childhood. Think about it. It's actually brilliant. The only problem with it is that nobody tells us when the day comes when it's safe for him to put on my grandmother's pumps, his grandmother's pumps, that it's safe for him to come out of hiding, that it's safe for this woman to come out of hiding and trust love again. Nobody tells us this. Now look what Michael Singer says. He says something marvelous. He says this. He says, the only permanent solution to your problem is to go inside and deal with that part of you, that part that seems to have so many problems with reality. So many problems with reality, right? Once you do that, you'll be clear enough to deal with what's left. He says the main problem is to deal with that part of us that has so many problems with reality. What part of us has problems with reality, and what is Buddhism? Buddhism, in its simplest sense, is accepting what is. Being awake to what is, accepting what is, welcoming what is. But there's a part of us that has a problem with what is. We have a constant problem with what is because we think it should be something else. There is a part of us that resists what life brings us all the time. And it keeps us separate from ourselves. It keeps us separate from God. It keeps us separate from others. And that was a great thing when we were kids, to be separate from that juicy part of ourselves that was so different and so delicious, but so unwanted for whatever reason. We got spooked. Something unacceptable happened. Something scared us. We learned a lesson. The Course in Miracles says we have one problem, and here is the problem. Our problem is separation. That's what it says our problem is, separation. When we have a loyal soldier, when we have this loyal soldier who stands guard of our persona, stands guard in front of our self-image, stands guard with the new us, the new and improved us, the parts of ourself that went into hiding, the parts of her that went into hiding, her vulnerability, her joy, her openness, her childlike wonder. When we have a loyal soldier standing guard inside of us and will not let our true self out, we have separated ourselves from our true self. Right then and there at 5 years old, we did it. We didn't know it. We separated ourselves from our true self. It's the nature of the human condition. We separate ourselves from our true self because our true self doesn't seem to be wanted. And we say to ourselves, all of us do this, you know what? When it's safe to come out of hiding, when I'm ready to be my true self, I'm going to go back in and get that part of me out of hiding. I'm going to do it. And the truth is, when we have all these problems, all these brush fires or wildfires in our life, the idea is don't rearrange the furniture. Go back inside and find the one who has all the problems and work there. Heal that. Talk to that part of your nature, fix that, rearrange that, and now you're going to find, and here's what he says, once you do that, you'll be clear enough to deal with what's left. Once we do that, we find that some of these fires go out by themselves. You see, she did not know the day that she became a little girl who became a miniature adult. She did not know why that happened, where her childhood went. And by knowing that in that moment, she could reclaim a piece of herself. We think, oh, this is going to just take forever. There's so much work. I came for a 4-week workshop, and this sounds like so much work. And I'm telling you, it's not so much work. You're going to do the work anyway. Putting out all these fires is going to take you at least 2.5 years to get to the bottom of all of them. I'm telling you that in a month, I can point you to the central problem. And we know that central problem as fear, but fear is not the problem. Fear is a symptom of what the problem is. And when we know that, man, it changes everything. Fear is not our problem, but it certainly seems like it is. It is a symptom because wherever the loyal soldier is protecting and defending against attack, we are in fear. We're always in fear when the loyal soldier is in the vicinity. When the loyal soldier's in the house, we are in fear. And we think, oh, well, if I just had enough money. And then we get that money. Yeah, but I might get cancer. So we don't get that cancer. Yeah, but I'm going bald, right? Yeah, but that doesn't happen. And here's what happens. There is a place in us that is constantly trying to keep us safe because it doesn't know its true identity. The loyal soldier is there, and it has divided us separated us from our true identity, which when we were young, it wasn't safe to be. But now it's safe. But nobody told the loyal soldier. Nobody told this part of our nature, this entire system that some people call the entire egoic structure. That's what we're talking about. The facade, the image, how we want people to perceive us, the things we've hidden. Because what does the soldier do? Takes everything that's nice about us and puts that out in the world. Look at me, I'm nice. I do some nice things. I think some nice thoughts. I have a nice job. Look, I helped somebody. I'm a nice person. I put in $5 in the collection basket. Look at me. Look what I do. This is nice. Now, the loyal soldier, in its loyalty to us, because it's not just a soldier, it's a loyal soldier. That's the genius of this term. It's a loyal soldier, so loyal to us. It will take everything that endangers, seemingly, our safety, and it will eliminate it. Now, how do we eliminate it? You don't ever eliminate energy, and you don't ever eliminate parts of yourself. There's no such thing as eliminating it, but we pretend to eliminate it. We take the parts of us that are not nice, loyal soldier puts it into a closet into hiding. But the parts of us that are different, certainly different in our childhood, in the closet goes into hiding. We take the part of us that's too different, too big, too loud, too creative, too small, too something, and we put it into hiding. We take our meanness, our pettiness, our jealousy into hiding. We take all the things that in some way might make people not love us or like us into hiding. And it's called, there's a name for it, your shadow. That's what it's called. You see, on the spiritual path, it's different than the religious path. They're both paths. But man, when you put all the paths together, they work together brilliantly. The religious path says, love God. And the spiritual path says, yes, love God. But open within yourself that which will not allow God to move through you so that God can use you. The spiritual path insists that we do the work of clearing the channels so that the divine can move through us. It understands you can't just love God. Because if we're all clogged up with the loyal soldier will not let God pass. Because that's going to just mess up some stuff. So when the divine comes, when big love comes, or when big money comes, or when big anything, big opportunities come, that we say, oh man, I can't wait for that to happen, the loyal soldier says, you know what? This feels scary. This feels dangerous. I'm sorry, I can't let it pass. And we are desperate for love, and we can't get it because there's something inside of us that has a problem with love. We're desperate for money, but suddenly there's something inside of us that thinks money is dangerous. Because look at all the people when I was growing up, all my neighbors who fought, husbands and wives fought about money. Oh my God, I can't let that through. The loyal soldier is the one who has problems with everything. So you know what the path says? Deal with the loyal soldier. Why? Because we only have one problem. What? The problem is we are separate from our true identity. And who separated us? We did. Not because we're idiots. We separated ourselves because we were so wise to figure out how to get to the other side safely. Just meant I put some stuff in hiding, and then people will love me again. I'll just show them the lovable stuff. I'll just show them the great stuff they want to see. I'll show them the things that they want to see. And this little girl in the divorce became the perfect child. What parent doesn't want a child who never speaks out of turn, who never is rowdy, who does everything you say? She never fought with her parents another day. She never spoke her truth for another 40 years, but she never fought with her parents and brought more pain to them during the divorce. She never wanted to go out and play. She was happy to just sit still, frozen, which looked to her parents like, what a good little girl. Look how well behaved she is. She lost her joy of childhood living in order to safely navigate the waters of her childhood. This loyal soldier took her childlike juice and didn't dry it up. Nothing of what you put into hiding is dead or gone. It's there. Put into hiding, put into the shadows, so that you reach this age, you see all these problems, and the path says, you know what, instead of fighting with all these problems, because you've been fighting with everything anyway, here's the Tao. One who sees the things of this world, the problems of this world as being real problems, has lost sight of the truth. To him, every word becomes a trap and everything becomes a prison. Instead of doing that, why don't you just go within and find the part of you that has a problem with everything? Because wherever we are separate, we are frightened. Wherever we are separate, fear is born in that moment. The moment we separate from our true self, we are no longer inside of our own power, and we are frightened. We are not home, and we are frightened. We are divided from ourselves, and we are frightened. Fear is the effect. It's the symptom of being separated. And when we know that, we can work on the issue, which is healing the separation, not hating the fear, not hating the problem. We can follow the fear to the mouth of the loyal soldier and begin to introduce ourselves to the loyal soldier that dwells within each and every one of us, and by doing so, begin there at the origin of things to lessen its voice. and to lessen its hold on us. When we are facing all these problems as she did, as we do, they are an indication that the way in which we're doing life needs to be done differently. The spiritual path has one trajectory, and it is always to turn within. Why? Because within you is everything you're looking for. Within you is your answer. Within you is the solution. Within you is everything you desire. It is within you. That is told in time immemorial. Every one of the ancient teachings says the same thing, turn within. Because within you, you are going to discover the part of you that has separated you wisely from yourself. And if you wish to heal that separation, that shows up as a separation with yourself, which is what addiction is. We fill that hole. We fill that hole. And what's the hole? It's the hole between our true self and the self that we show to the world so we can get the love. It's always worked for us before. We can be a good girl or a good boy and do everything right and get the love. We can hide the parts that disturb people and get the love. As long as I'm getting the love, I'm safe. And that technique is brilliant, but that technique stopped working. How do you know? Because you're facing all these problems. It feels overwhelming, and there's a part of you, honest to God, that if you didn't wake up tomorrow morning or it was easy to just opt out of this experience, you know what? You just would. And we don't talk about that because it's taboo, but it's true. And why is that? Not because life is hard. Not because life is hard. Because the way we're doing life is so goddamn hard. We're doing it hard. When the loyal soldier, here's the saying, when you're a hammer, everything becomes a nail. The loyal soldier is a hammer. It's our best friend. It's a hammer. And it turns everything into a nail, and it deals with everything in one way. It will protect us. It will defend us against attack because there's some kind of surprise unexpectedly coming, and it's not going to be safe. So there it stands. That's where we begin when we deal with fear. Its origin. Its origin. Why? Here's the Tao again, verse 32. One who knows the truth that underlies all things. I love that line. One who knows the truth that underlies all things, meaning there's a truth going on in your life, but you can't see it. It's not on the surface of your life, it's underlying it. You can't see it, but you're going to know it's there by the symptoms. One who knows the truth that underlies all things lives in this world without danger. Same world, without danger. With the loyal soldier, with a different relationship to this loyal soldier, we live in this world without danger. Why? To him, every word reflects the universe, and every moment brings enlightenment. To us, when we start healing this separation, we discover that every word, instead of becoming a trap, every word is going to be as if life is talking to us. Right? And every moment, instead of being a prison, something to defend ourselves against, every moment brings enlightenment. Every moment is life showing us how to take our next step into freedom. Every moment is showing us how to come out of bondage. Why? Because we cannot continue to live under the model where there is a part of our nature loyal to keeping us safe, taking everything different about us, not nice about us, dark about us, weird about us, ungroovy about us, putting it into hiding and expecting we can go through life with this gigantic closet full of dark shit. All of it is true. And keep it in hiding forever. Christian Northrup, the foremost doctor in women's wisdom and women's body, she's just brilliant. Because she speaks on all levels to all her patients. And what does she say? Menopause, old age, do not be mistaken by those names. They're not physical, she said. Yeah, there's some hormone things going on, but what's really happening? The real truth about our aches and pains when we hit 50, about menopause for men and women, the real truth is there is an energy in the closet behind you where you've hidden your shadow, and it's shaking. Your stuff wants to come out. We think my stuff wants to come out. People are going to know I'm not as nice as I pretend to be. People are going to know that maybe I want to put a scarf around my head and wear pumps. People are going to know I'm too big. People are going to think I'm too greedy. People are going to think I'm not really nice. And we are terrified of taking the whole story of us out of hiding because of that experience we had where we put it all into hiding to stay safe. And now life is telling us to do the exact opposite thing. What is happening? Where do the aches and pains and troubles and illnesses come from, she says? Because the other part of our nature that we put in hiding has to come out. We have to take the whole truth about who we are out of hiding. We have to take what we put in hiding out. It will not kill us. It will not end every friendship we've ever had. It will not leave us abandoned and lonely and penniless and homeless and friendless. In fact, here's what's going to happen. We are going to heal this separation and take the truth about who we are out of hiding in the privacy of our own safe journal, of our own safe home, in our own safe therapeutic rooms. We're going to take it out of hiding, and here's what's so crazy. Out of that closet with it will come your passion. Out of that closet with the other half, the dark stuff that you think is horrible, 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 that might have gotten you in trouble, out of hiding is going to come some live wire energy. Out of hiding is going to come talents you didn't know you had. Out of hiding is going to come memories, wonderful memories that got slipped away into hiding that you forgot. The good things, the wonderful things. Out of hiding, we think is going to come a gorilla of darkness. And what comes out of hiding? Oh, our wholeness. We have one problem. The Course in Miracles says it is separation. 3,000 years before the Course in Miracles was written, when was it, in the 60s or 70s, the 1970s? I don't remember exactly when it was put down. But 3,000 years before that, the Tao Te Ching said the exact same thing. It said all of life is a movement toward our wholeness, meaning the thing that we did in childhood to help us survive, touché, wonderful, well done. The soldier was loyal to us up until today. And we were loyal to the soldier. But you know what? The second half of life, we got to heal that separation. And all of life is a movement to our wholeness. Means all of life is going to be moving us in the direction of that closet. It's going to look like problems in our life, but the problem is only one problem. The problem is we need to heal our separation. We need to heal our separation from our true and whole self. And not only will we discover it's not horrible, we will discover finally, oh my God, how beautiful we are, because we don't believe it. How lovely we are, because we don't believe it. How good we are, because we don't believe it. We really don't believe how good, how lovable, how worthy, how deserving, how magnificent we are. We don't believe it. Why? Because we're split. And every single path attempts to heal that split. And we can fill that split with all the substances in the world, or we can heal it the way we started it. By turning to that loyal soldier that has been so loyally keeping us safe from all the things it believes endangers us, and beginning to have a relationship with it. And then you will see that the symptoms of that separation from ourself, which we call fear, constant, ceaseless, endless fear, begins to diminish. And we're going to spend a month on focusing how to do that. Just that. Enough said. Okay.